This is the weekend edition of Fear and Greed, daily business news for people who make their own decisions. I'm Michael Thompson, and good morning, Sean Aylmer.
Morning, Michael.
Sean, our weekend show is all about the two of us each nominating what we think is the biggest business story of the week, the most remarkable business story, a sleeper story, one that's flying under the radar a little bit. And you're very good at those because, you know, you like kind of looking under rocks and all that. And then our favourite business story. And just a competition. And we need a judge. And our judge is every week our Fear and Greed colleague, Adam Lang. Adam, good morning.
Good morning. Good morning to you both, actually. Good morning, Sean. Good morning, Michael.
Now, look.
So, like you could tell, Adam, you could tell he had something he had to get off his chest.
I think you're about to give us your category. Can we add to your categories for judging?
Mm-hmm.
Criteria is a better word, isn't it? Your criteria for judging.
Sure.
Can we add another one?
Okay.
Please.
Without notice. I love it.
Brevity. Brevity. Because when I listen back to the weekend edition shows, I carry on too much, and I'm probably got a third of the time. So Michael's got 2/3 of the time, and oh my word, it gets tiresome.
So we've begun the show with a little bit of feedback. Can I give my criteria first, and then we'll add brevity in, right?
So we will add brevity.
Sure.
Good.
Because I think it's a ripper. Topicality is number one. That's what we're after. Timeliness, economic impact. Please pay attention to my subjective bias, particularly reform ideas, and throw in some melodrama. And, of course, let's do the catch-all of brevity. Maybe there's special points for brevity today.
Is this the first time, Michael, he's ever said reform?
Yeah, I've never heard him mention reform before. Who knew that this was a passion of Adam's?
I've reformed the criteria.
I feel, though, that I am being unfairly targeted.
Really?
I am prone, on occasion, to waffling. And I feel as though that this is tailor-made to target me. I feel
like your superpower has been given kryptonite?
I feel like I've been hobbled
What?
by you.
A superpower? Michael's ability to waffle on is a superpower.
Yeah, it's one of the more lame superpowers out there, but it's a superpower.
In terms of Marvel comics, that ain't going to make it. I'm sorry.
The waffler. He will bore you into submission.
He can talk criminals down.
Let's do this, shall we? See, look at me. I'm the one moving this on. You criticize me, but I'm doing it first. I'm going first for the biggest story. And Adam, you know how you are going to be judging us.
Mm-hmm.
You know what Sean and I have done again for the biggest story this week?
Oh, you've neutralised it. As in there'll be no winner in the first story?
That is correct.
Okay.
Because there is only one big story. No, it's one big person who has created multiple big stories, right? And it, of course, is Donald Trump.
Mm-hmm.
And so Sean and I have each chosen an element of the Donald Trump show from the week.
But are we competing?
Well, no.
Oh,
we can if you want. I mean,
go on.
No.
All right. It's a neutral.
No.
All right, off you go.
Why? Does yours not involve reform? Everything Donald Trump does revolves in reform.
Actually, it does. It does involve significant reform. Yes. Let me go through it. So mine was actually quite late in the week, relatively late in the week, mid to late week, which is actually kind of irrelevant detail. Didn't need to include
waffling
all
already.
Of that.
Warning.
Yeah, waffling. Early waffle. Anyway, and it's a serious one, a really serious one, because it was all about Donald Trump's suggestion that the US could take over the Gaza Strip and turn it into, in his words, the Riviera of the Middle East. There was just so much in this, right? It was a joint press conference with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, and even he said it was at the extreme end of things that could be considered. Extreme. Like, it cannot get much more extreme than this. It would involve relocating the entire population of Gaza. Something like 2 million people, Palestinian people, would need to relocate. The Strip would need to be entirely demolished, entirely rebuilt. He signaled that US troops would potentially be involved in this, and that the US may take an ownership stake in it as well. There are problems galore with this. And if you take the politics out of it and just look at the legal side of it, it is illegal. The US has no claim over the land. And from the political perspective, Donald Trump has actually campaigned on a platform of America first, i.e. getting out of other countries, getting out of all these other entanglements around the globe.
So you're suggesting he's not consistent?
He's like Adam, inconsistent in his application of criteria. Sorry, that was unfair.
Me and Trump.
I don't know why I
Side
took a
by
swipe
side.
at you on the way through. It's just habit now. It just happens without even thinking. And is the whole idea has been let everyone else sort their own problems out in the world. It goes directly against that. There are no countries in the Middle East that are interested in actually accommodating the population of Gaza, and there's nothing to actually say that they would want to leave. And then it goes also against the two-state solution on which peace in the Middle East has been based on for decades.
Sorry,
working towards
Michael,
this.
I've got to pull you up on this. Donald Trump did say, well, this has got nothing to do with the two-state, one-state issue. Unrelated.
Yeah.
And, of course, after it's all rebuilt, the Riviera of the West, people can actually head back home. So the Gazans will be moving out, only temporarily, like they back down a bit, so they'll be able to come back. You
know what it is, Sean, and you're right. Like it's one of those things where just because he says it kind of, he says that it's nothing to do with the two-state kind of system. Well, therefore, it must be the case. It's what this feels like, right? In true Trump style, it is a negotiating tactic. It is a starting position, and it is a very extreme starting point to show that he means business in this. And so you kind of look ahead. You look ahead a few days, you look ahead a few weeks, and we will end up somewhere else, right? Having negotiated his way along from this position. But this was an announcement, right? Sorry, double but, not going for the triple because I don't waffle anymore. This was an announcement that drew attention. It drew a lot of headlines. It left leaders like Anthony Albanese in a very kind of sticky situation, trying not to criticise a key ally while still supporting the position that the Australian government has held for a very, very long time. Maybe that's why the Prime Minister was out there trying to tell everyone to take a chill pill and stop reacting to everything that the President of the United States says. It was a massive, massive story with far-reaching global implications. But we're not competing, so I don't actually need to need to go into all of that.
And these stories, you don't actually need to beat them up because they're just beyond
don't.
belief to begin with.
Yeah.
So,
and I just what amazed me about this one was just how many people from all walks of life came out and just said this is very problematic.
Not the far right in Israel. The far right in Israel actually came out and said this ain't a bad idea. We should consider it.
Yeah, goodness me. And just like you have all the academics coming out going, there's just no legal kind of basis for doing this. And you're just like, okay, all right, it does. And once the initial shock of it.
Reeks a little bit of ethnic cleansing, just quietly.
Certainly does.
And don't you love Donald Trump? Every time he comes up with an idea, it's like, let's build a hotel. Okay, so if we build a hotel, how do we work that out? Well, we're going to have to get rid of the people first, and then we're going to build a hotel, and then we'll get it back in. That's how it works. Yep. Build a hotel. My favourite Donald Trump story this week. Tariffs. Tariffs. We had them, and then we didn't, at least in the case of Canada and Mexico. 25% tariffs were supposed to kick in right at the last minute. He gave them a 1-month reprieve after both sides said they're going to do sort of send troops basically to shore up the borders so you won't get leaking of people and fentanyl and stuff like that. So 1 month reprieve for them. China, different story. 10% tariffs kicked in. China immediately came back with retaliatory tariffs. Donald Trump reckons this is going to make things cheaper for people in the US. It's not. Full stop. That's not how tariffs work, particularly now that China's put a 10% retaliatory tariff in. I like saying that word, retaliatory, because I know Michael can't say that word.
Oh, see, this is unfair, right? And this goes to my point about me being targeted. I've been targeted by you two putting your stupid waffle rule.
Say the word.
It feels as retaliatory in retaliation. Like you just work around. Hey, what's the clearance rates that come through from the real estate
preliminary
agents?
clearance rates? Those ones?
Yeah. Oh,
yeah.
Well, Oh, mark this date on the calendar. He got it.
Anyway,
Sorry.
continue on. So that's what happened. It's ridiculous using a bargaining chip for fentanyl. And you know, the irony, of course, is that Mexico throwing 10,000 National Guard troops at the border cost them hugely less than a 10% tariff would. So, you know, sledgehammer to kill a fly type thing. What about this? I mean, it unnerves markets. That's worrying. But like at one point there this week, Trump didn't mention tariffs for 24 hours. So equity markets rose. Like, how ridiculous is that? We've got companies like McKinsey thinking about moving out of China. They're worried about Chinese, Beijing-Washington relations. In fact, a Chamber of Commerce survey out of the US said 30% of US companies in China are thinking about moving out. US Postal Service stopped accepting goods from China and Hong Kong. Only lasted 12 hours, but they do 3 million a day, 1.5 million from those two countries, 12 hours, half a day, 750,000 parcels.
That's a lot of parcels, right?
Yeah.
Like, where do they actually go? Like when they are like
Waffling.
No, it's an actual question for someone who knows a lot about the US Postal Service. When suddenly they say we're not going to take 750,000 parcels a day, where do they go?
Yeah.
Like, do they just sit there in a warehouse? Imagine the size of the warehouse that you would need for this.
That's just a day. This is per day.
That is staggering.
Crazy.
And it just anyway.
And you got India actually changing its foreign policy and its plans around customs on the back of Donald Trump. Michael mentioned Anthony Albanese. Basically, he said everyone needs to take a chill pill. No, Prime Minister, this guy's the president of the US, right? What he says actually matters. Don't say take a chill pill. Actually stand up against Donald Trump and say, well, no, that's not a very good idea. And you have corporates in Australia rethinking their DEI plans, diversity, equity, inclusion plans. Now, they're not saying anything publicly, corporates, but I have spoken to a few in the past couple of weeks saying, this matters. We just can't talk about it. They're not dropping it, but no longer can they push it either. So what Donald Trump is doing, and this starts with tariffs. I mean, the DEI is probably the next step, but it's affecting the whole world. And that's why it's frustrating if Anthony Albanese says, hey, take a chill pill. Well, actually, I'd take a chill pill if it didn't matter, but it does matter. The frustration.
And this is why we weren't competing on that, because Sean's was an impeccably argued story just then. And so therefore it was, I'm like, oh, I've got no chance.
Oh, I don't know. I think moving 2 million people out of Gaza. I mean, I don't want to be in agreement with you, Michael.
But local economic impact kind of thing. You have actually done a bit of research. You've gotten out there and talked to a few local corporates who have said that, yes, this is an issue for us here. So, yeah.
Do you know there's another aspect that might be a win here that I could add in?
Yeah.
For the first
this
time,
will be left
I reckon
field.
We've got
or right field, actually.
Yeah. Really down the middle.
Who knows?
God, this could be anything, Michael.
Who knows what he's about to say?
Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised if we got Xi Jinping in this one. I'm not sure.
Okay, so here it is. Here it is for your judgment, gentlemen. In 2023 and 2024, the single most common topic came under the banner of Elon Musk in this show, I reckon. Elon Musk dominated the headlines.
Fair.
I reckon it's been 1 month where he has been not just second place, but daylight between Trump and Musk. Like Musk, as the storyteller and story maker, has just been thoroughly diminished in the last month.
Okay, so I just want to, for the sake of brevity, what the hell's that got to do with anything, Adam? Why are we bringing Elon Musk? You're the judge, mate. Don't try and give us your third story.
Don't you become a player in this story.
That's right.
Stick to judging. All right, let's go to remarkable story of the week.
Righto.
Most remarkable is the fact that this is slightly off topic. I've been having a hair battle.
You have been. Ever since we've started the show, you have been preening. So those who don't know Michael, I mean, some of us have no hair, i.e. me. Some of us are in the middle, i.e. Adam, whereas you are right. Michael has the coif. You know the Hugh Grant look of
Yes.
4 weddings and
The
a
floppy-
funeral,
yeah.
floppy. Yeah. That is Michael Thompson at the moment. And all morning he's been playing with it.
4 weddings and a
I'm sorry.
podcast. Michael Thompson.
Please don't take that sentence out of context. I forgot to put any hair product in, and as a result, it's gone
dear.
extra floppy.
Uh,
Also,
dear.
keep that one in context too.
Can I tell you about my most remarkable story, please? Because Adam was
Please
talking
do.
about Elon Musk, and mine involves Elon Musk. It is remarkable how on the nose EVs and specifically Teslas are in Australia at the moment. Now, slightly early call, but whatever, who cares? Sales of Tesla electric vehicles in Australia fell 33% last month, according to the Electric Vehicle Council. 739 Tesla models were sold in January. About 1,100 were sold 12 months earlier. Polestar electric vehicles, they've also had a big sales slide. The numbers aren't huge. I mean, 1,100 cars in a month of 100,000. It's not huge. But what I thought was interesting was that now EVs, which are dominated by Tesla, make up 4.4% of the market only, which is really quite remarkable. Hybrids, on the other hand, make up 17%. Now, we have said for about 2 years that hybrids hybrids are the go in Australia because of the distances.
I think you and I have both used it as our sleeper story on at least half a dozen occasions now.
Is that right?
The fact that hybrids are rising.
coming.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
the remarkable thing is how much Tesla has fallen out of bed in Australia. We actually had the official figures this week. The RAV4 hybrid, number one, beated the Toyota Hilux and the Ford Ranger Ute. I'm really surprised that people have fallen out of love with Tesla EVs so quickly. All sorts of issues, charging stations, time of charge, all that sort of stuff. I reckon Elon Musk isn't helping sales, I would say.
There's a lot of anecdotal reports, weren't there, of people returning their Teslas or just refusing to get one because of his affiliation. There does seem to be a lot more BYDs around.
Yeah, and BYDs are cheaper. Yeah. But overall, EV sales are only 4% of the market last week. And part of that's because Elon Musk is a tool.
Of the trade.
No, Adam.
Just a tool?
Just a tool.
Just Adam's valiant efforts to rescue that. Just like, I've got this. I'm going to save us from defamation.
This is an opinion. My opinion of Elon Musk. This is not factual. It's just my opinion. He is a tool.
Of the trade.
And a genius.
Michael.
Well,
okay. No, and a genius. Definitely a genius.
Oh, it certainly is. Most remarkable story, Australia, gentlemen, is heading for
Start
another...
your engines.
Brevity. Yeah. Oh. Just got squashed.
Sorry, that was a stretch. I realised now as you were listening to this podcast, it would have sounded like there was a Wookiee in the studio.
You were stretching, and when Michael stretches, it's like, settle back into your seats, get your cup of tea. We got at least 7 minutes coming up.
Someone's about to take the stage.
It's a full body stretch. Now, this is actually a fairly low-key story, right? But Australia is
remarkable
100%,
nonetheless.
100% guaranteed heading for another diplomatic showdown with China. Why? Well, I will tell you. Because they jumped in very, very, very quickly. This is the federal government, right? Jumped in so quickly and banned Chinese AI chatbot DeepSeek from federal government devices. Security agencies warned of, and this is a quote, an unacceptable risk to Australian government technology. And that is because DeepSeek is from China.
Now, whoa. No. That's not the reason, Michael.
That's right. Sorry. Because it is connected to players who may have malicious intent towards Australia.
Thank you.
i.e. China.
Keep going with the story. There's more to it.
The thing that I find fascinating about this is that Home Affairs Minister Tony Burke said that the government was country agnostic on this kind of decision. But
one more. Give us a third.
But
triple but.
But there,
Oh,
we got a
the
surprise
quad,
fourth
the
out there.
surprise
Just
quad.
burst out of nowhere. Whew. There is a history of decisions being made against companies with Chinese affiliations on security grounds. DeepSeek is one, the most recent, obviously, but TikTok has been banned on government devices. Huawei was blocked from being part of the NBN rollout. Same deal. There have been multiple acquisitions or proposed acquisitions by Chinese connected companies that have been blocked either by the Foreign Investment Review Board or by the Treasurer. Surprise, surprise. On the basis of national security. Now, the government might be country agnostic, but I smell something. It smells an awful lot like a pattern here. Do patterns smell?
No,
they
probably
don't.
not.
But it's a particularly aromatic pattern, and that pattern is China. God, that's a mixed metaphor. I don't even know if that works.
I think we've got a trend here today. We've got Anthony Albanese saying take a chill pill about what's his face? Donald Trump, right? We've got Tony Berg saying, we're country agnostic, but we're going to once again ban a Chinese organisation. Like, how about people actually say what's going on? I mean, you can blame Peter Dutton as well, nuclear energy, it'll only cost this much. It won't. It'll cost a lot more, right? All politicians. So I'm not trying to get bipartisan. No, partisan? No, that's it. Not trying to get partisan. Yep. Let's have a campaign. Hey, Pollies, don't avoid the questions. Just tell us how it is.
Tell us what you really think.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But at least on this one, at least with DeepSeek, they weren't mucking around. They just jumped straight in, banned it after a week, right? That's quick. It's a good thing because on matters of national security, you want this decisive action. But after we've just succeeded in getting all of the Chinese tariffs lifted on Australian exports, could we be headed for another diplomatic showdown? Well, I'm finishing with the question. I started with an absolute 100% guarantee that we were heading there, so I kind of probably
I reckon when you deal with China, right, you can guarantee there's going to be a diplomatic situation in the future on anything.
Can you imagine
at all
how
times
it would be? Being foreign minister or trade minister would be the hardest job in the world.
3D chess.
Incredible. Everything has repercussions, right?
But I reckon we've had some of the great. So I think Penny Wong is great. I think Julie Bishop was great. I just think we have had the right people in that job.
Yeah,
over a long time.
Yeah, good point. Well
said.
All right, I award myself the point. Let's move on.
1-0, 1.5 to half. Oh, Adam, sorry, you're here. Go on. Have you got a third story?
Well, Sean, you win. I think the DeepSeek story is very, very interesting, but unsurprising because of the theme that you laid out, Michael. And and I think in terms of impact to every day, this country and the world of business, we sell 1 million new cars here every year, 100,000 a month. That is huge business. So while the numbers of, say, 3,000 vehicles is small, the dollar value is enormous to our economy.
Look at the anger going just next to me here.
I came in here
smell
today.
the heat. Is that what it is? Yes, smell the heat.
I came in here today determined to be a good sport, only to have this absolute garbage of a decision delivered to me today.
Usually you say this for the end of the show, but well done.
Electric vehicle sales have been trending down for several months.
It is time for Michael to take a chill pill. We are going to a break. Hopefully he will have calmed down by the time we get back. Back in a moment.
Sean, we are looking for a sleeper story of the week. And yes, I have calmed down significantly. There was a 18-minute break that we just took. Wore some scorch marks into the carpet outside the studio. But sleeper story of the week. So this is a story that's flying under the radar a little bit, not getting the attention that it deserves. Do you know what is not getting the attention that it truly, richly deserves? Parliament. Right? Don't scoff at me. Parliament started again this week, right? That is a momentous occasion in a democracy.
And the sleeper part?
Wait, Adam, wait.
Wait.
It was a massive week. Did you see that? Another H in the W. A massive week. We had the government announcing. I could just rattle off this list of things that have been announced.
Do so, but do it quickly.
It shall be a very quick rattle. An extra $1.7 billion in funding to public hospitals next year to, quote, help cut waiting lists, to reduce waiting times in emergency rooms, and to manage ramping. All honourable, all very good. There was legislation introduced by the government for a 3-day guarantee on subsidised childcare. The cost of living has been debated. No end. There's been some great discussions over that. There's been arguments over the costings of the coalition's new business lunch tax deduction policy. Ooh, smells like reform, Adam. New hate speech laws passed the Senate, which included mandatory jail time for people found guilty of displaying terror symbols. That one came off the back of a truly disturbing rise in anti-Semitism in Australia, which has been the subject of, once again, a lot of debate, a lot of discussion in Australia, in Parliament, in Canberra this week. But, and here is the sleeper component of this story.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody is listening. Everything is about Donald Trump, right? We have had a massive week in our own federal parliament, in federal politics, even in state politics, with legislation passing, Barneys galore. We're only, a couple of months away from an election, one of the most significant elections of the century. And nobody seems to care because Donald Trump is sucking all of the oxygen out of political discourse at the moment. This is a sleeper story. I never thought I would say this, but it is time for the politicians of Canberra to get the spotlight. Sorry, Sean.
How do you define a sleeper story? Because there's another big story around, so where this is a sleeper story because the other one's bigger?
It's a sleeper story because I define sleeper stories every single week. A story that's not getting the attention that it deserves.
Right.
And this is not getting the attention that it deserves because all the headlines are going to one Donald J. Trump.
Okay, my sleeper story. How do you compete with that? I don't know,
You
really.
don't. You surrender. You raise the right
But
flag.
like, I think we have a totally
the white flag.
the right and the white flag.
Yeah.
The right flag is definitely up at the moment.
Yeah. What is it? Cheese eating surrender monkeys? Is that what? Is that how the Simpsons described the French? Wasn't it?
Yes.
Seriously? Cheese
Yeah.
eating?
Yeah.
Cheese eating surrender monkeys. Yes.
It's a beauty.
I've defined a sleeper story as one that's really under the radar but has the potential to be massive in the future. And I don't know. Anyway, Adam, you have to sort this out.
Yes.
Mine's about Rio Tinto. For the first time this week, it suggested that it could use green energy for its massive aluminium smelter in Queensland. Why do we care about that? Aluminium smelters use massive amounts of energy. In fact, one of the most energy-intensive industrial processes there is. So, these smelters run 24 hours a day. Problem with renewables, when the sun's out, it's great. When the wind's blowing, it's great. But when that's not happening, well, no energy. Therefore, smelters can't use renewables. What Rio reckons is that the cost of batteries have fallen enough and their ability to improve to store energy has improved enough that they can be used for firming power. Firming power is basically to fill the gaps when solar and wind aren't working. They're talking about their smelters being green. In the world of green energy, there's a few things like a few big energy users, steel production being one, aluminium smelting being another, where we've never really thought that wind and solar could do it. Suddenly
What
they're
percentage
saying,
of this is allocated towards melodrama, Adam? Sorry, Sean, didn't mean to interrupt. It's actually just a point of order. Because I feel like this is lacking a little something. Just a little kind of pizzazz. Have you ever thought about
Don't listen to him, Sean. Carry on. Unimpeded.
G.
F? Say it. F. That's what we want. That's what we're here for. We want that. Bring that fighting spirit to this.
The point is, Rio, for the first time, has basically said renewables can run aluminium smelters. Wow. That is big news for the future. Big news for the future. But most of you, I mean, obviously, Michael, wake up. Obviously, anyone listening to Fear and Greed would know about this, but most people wouldn't. Adam.
Okay. So it's a massive story, Sean, but I'm going to give this one to Michael, and not for the reasons that Michael said. To me,
could you imagine if Adam was a judge in court and they'd present the evidence and he'd say, yeah, but I've been thinking about it. I've been reading this stuff on TikTok, actually on social media, Truth Social, and I reckon this is the answer.
So Rio Tinto's announcement is massive. And what obviously the world needs much more infrastructure. So this is a huge story and a really big sleeper story. Very optimistic, and I hope it works. I think in the near term in Australia for the economy at the moment, the sleeper story here, Michael, is how do our politicians get above the Trump noise to get a message through in an election cycle?
Hold on,
I think that's really difficult.
But Michael didn't say that.
No,
word for word, that's what I said.
You can't actually decide that. In fact, Michael, will you join with me? You can have the points. I'm not worried about that. Can we have a revolution on the judge? We have asked the judge to judge us, and instead, and the first story, he gave a third story, like the biggest story. Well, he wanted to tell us about Elon Musk. This time round, he said, "No, Michael, you're wrong, but this is the part that you missed, and this is the important part." Like, I've had this, Judge. Enough.
You know what? I have tried to incite a coup so many times now, and you have not risen with me, Sean.
Anyway, my point, you win that, right? So 1.5. When it comes to the final story, let's judge ourselves. Adam has done such a poor job. And
good.
It's not even. I'm not even losing, Adam. I'm not even losing. I'm just like, I'm over it. I'm over everything this week, actually.
You know, well, okay. Who's going first on this one, though?
I'll go first.
Give it to us. Go.
We're judging ourselves.
Yep.
Good.
I love the fact that there's growing evidence that an evening stroll after dinner, not before, after dinner, can be of great health benefit. Basically, if you go for a stroll after 6 p.m., you lower the risk of bowel cancer. Some of us are worried about this. If you walk in the evening, improve digestion, regulate blood sugar, improves your blood pressure, aids weight loss. If you walk in the evening, studies have found that physical activity is relaxing, so that may reduce stress-related inflammation, also good for cardiovascular metabolism, especially by reducing blood pressure, that in turn reduces stress, inflammation, etc. Exercise helps you sleep better. Another factor that reduces chronic stress and inflammation. I mean, this story is all from the Daily Telegraph of London. It was written this week and the bowel cancer research came out. But all this stuff, we're bringing it all together this week. It's important. Even researchers at the University of Sydney, they looked at the health and activity patterns of about 80,000 people. Anyone who walks 3,800 steps per day has a 25% lower risk of developing dementia. All of a sudden, going for a stroll in the evening, I think it'd be lovely for you two with your respective partners to go for a stroll in the evening, maybe hold hands, talk about the kids, talk about life. Why are you two laughing?
Because it sounded
Why are you two laughing?
Adam and I would be going for a stroll together, holding hands, talking about our partners.
Walking out of the studio, clicking our heels.
I just think that's a great story. It just proves that life is more than podcasts and stupid judges. Go for a stroll.
Whack.
Michael.
I'm sure he wasn't talking about you, Adam.
Oh, no, he was.
Oh, okay. I was trying to soften the blow.
Actually, stupid is an unfair characterization. No, they're inconsistent judges. Stupid is definitely not the right.
No. You apply that to the decisions made, not to the person.
Yeah, but the person's definitely not stupid.
There we go.
Go on.
I wish Adam was judging this category. Like, now I remembered what I've decided. Now I remember what I'm actually going to do.
Okay,
for this.
Adam, you're back in.
You know what I love? I love banks. And
God.
I love...
That is just not true. Anyway, go on.
I also love companies trying different things. And this week, we have my two great loves coming together to make banks trying different things. And I think I'm not alone in this, love. Let me tell you what has happened this week that has got me all riled up in fondness for our banks. National Australia Bank, good old NAB, has started opening on a Sunday. There's no day of rest for the good folk at NAB. Admittedly, it is just one branch at the moment. But, you know what? Confucius once said...
Yes.
about banks. He was talking about banks at the time. And he said, the mighty tree of reform begins with a single branch.
No, he didn't.
I'm pretty sure he did.
Yeah.
Pretty sure he did.
If he didn't say it, he was thinking about it.
Yeah,
Definitely.
yeah. It's a translation issue. Things are looking up, obviously, then, for the banks. And why wouldn't they open on a Sunday? This is a serious point, though. Why wouldn't they open on a Sunday? Yeah, because who can actually get to the bank during business hours? Especially not small businesses trying to actually get to the bank to do their banking during business hours because they're all busy running businesses, right? This is a common sense move. And look, that's me applauding NAB. Don't know if that worked or maybe I just deafened everybody. I shouldn't have clapped right into the microphone. That leads me then to what Westpac is doing. Clever. They are offering businesses a year of basic legal assistance through an Aussie startup called LawPath. So we're talking things like legal documents, business registration assistance, that kind of thing. How smart is this? Westpac currently sits third behind NAB and Commonwealth Bank on business banking. So this is a superb example of a big bank, right, thinking outside the box and looking after its customers. So this week, I nominate the banks for my favorite story. They are reforming the banking industry, turning this ship around, putting the customer first, and without wanting to over-egg it too much, bringing Australia into a new era of prosperity. Thank you, Adam.
Okay, well sold, Michael, but you lose. So on this one...
Who said you were judging? I didn't...
Sean brought me back off the bench.
Off the reserves. Yeah.
Oh, this is BS.
So I think the notion of getting off the devices, getting off the couch and getting out and about for our economy is actually a huge favourite story.
Didn't mention the economy either.
Has nothing to do with business. Has nothing to do with economy.
Thank you, Adam.
Get out for an evening stroll. Go and talk to some people. You know, maybe have a cup of tea with them. Really good neighbourhoods. Maybe
Why
go
do you
to
hate small business
restaurant.
so much, Adam?
I love it. This is what I'm supporting. So, no, I think it's a great story and just so good, isn't it? It makes complete sense. Like in Italy, I remember, you know, sort of as a kid learning, they go for walks all the time, after lunch, after dinner. It's part of their culture.
Nice name drop. Did you live in Italy when you were young?
I visited there as a kid, didn't live there.
Right.
So, hang on, did I just lose overall?
Yeah. 2.5 to 1.5.
So, 2.5.
That's quite an effort. And we are actually longer than we normally would be.
Brevity, my butt. This is ridiculous. So what was the points then, Adam?
Okay, let me just add them up. No, oh gosh, it's actually kind of...
It's actually kind of close.
Okay, 93 to 90. No, Sean wins.
Landslide.
Well, I gave you 25 for the first one. Is that right? 25 each?
Yeah, that's
even though it was
right.
a draw.
Yeah.
So, 93 to 90.
I don't think the public's going to stand for this. Like, just that coup might be on its way, Adam.
There's people lining up at the studio door now.
That's right. They've got their pitchforks.
No need for baseball bats.
No. All right. Thank you very much, Adam.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you, Sean.
Thank you, Sean.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you, Adam.
Make sure you're following the podcast and please join us online on LinkedIn, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook and X. I'm Michael Thompson and that was Fear and Greed. Have a great weekend.